2-1 quadratic formula, the derivation. Any student kind of tackling this on at some point in grade 10, I don't know, maybe your teachers are going to be brave enough to maybe assign this at some point and show you where the actual quadratic formula comes from. And that's what I'm going to do right here. Now, the quadratic formula, the biggest thing in finding it is actually understanding the completing the square for quadratics. And that's what I'm going to use. So, I mean, some students say it's a trick. I guess, you know, if you are comfortable with quadratics and you understand completing the square, then you should understand this derivation quite well. All right. Now, for completing the square, if you want to kind of do a deja vu, I'll put up a link up above to kind of the introduction on completing the square, so you will know and watch those examples, and then you're going to be able to come back and hopefully understand how this derivation comes about. So let's get started. So here is our quadratic formula that we have. We have our A, our B, our C. We will be assuming that they're equal to 0. That's what the quadratic formula comes from. And now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just copy this. All right, so I'll copy this down. Let's bring it right here. And I'm going to basically complete the square. So my ultimate goal is to try to find this x, right? So I want to be able to find the x so that the equation solves the left-hand side equals the right-hand side, which means that I have to find out what does x have to be equal to. And in order to do that, so my first step is going to be, I'm going to kind of separate this a little bit, and I'm going to say, all right, let's take these right here and create a perfect square for them. I'm going to move this c out of the way, and if I do that, so I'm going to take out my a, right? So open bracket, so I'll have x squared plus, now this is going to become b over a x. I'm going to leave some space here because I'm going to use the completing the square. My c, I'm going to move over to the side. So far, all I've done is I've just kind of removed the a, or I've factored out the a from the first two terms. And I've moved the c over to the side, which is exactly what we do in completing the square. Now, in order to complete the square, then now next I'm going to take this b over a, so this right here, and I'm going to complete my square. So in order to complete my square, I have to take b over a and divide it by 2. So I'm going to get b over 2a, because that's what that is if I divide it by 2. Now this whole thing has to be squared. And then, of course, I have to do the same thing and subtract it. So b over 2a, that's going to be subtracted. So I don't really change anything. So add and I subtract exactly the same term. Now, from right here, it looks a little complicated, but this right here is a perfect square now. And since this is a perfect square, so I have this a in front, and it's going to be x plus b over 2a squared. So that's that. This term right here, so don't forget, I have to multiply it by a. So I'm going to have minus, so multiplying it by a, and I have b over 2a squared plus my c, which is still remaining. And this is what I have right there. So far, okay, so good. Now, next, all right, so I'm going to kind of simplify this term a bit. Okay, so I'll just play around right here with all of this. So I'm going to move and just work on that for a moment. So if I do this, I'm going to get b squared all over. And notice the 2 squared is going to become 4. The a in the bracket is going to be a squared, but that's going to be canceled out by this a. So I'm only going to have 1a remaining. And that's negative. And then plus my c right here, that's going to be equal to 0. And this entire thing doesn't really change. All right, so that just stays the same in front there. Now, to solve for x, so what we do is I'm going to move this right here. So I'm going to move this entire thing. So this entire thing right there to the right-hand side. So let's do that. So that means on the right-hand side, so what I'm going to get now is it's going to be, so b squared all over 4a minus c. So the signs change. All right, the left-hand side, the rest just remains the same. So I still have all of this still remaining. So all of this is still there. I'm going to copy this and paste it down. So this is still all here. All right, so that's that. Now, on the right-hand side, I'm going to create a common denominator, which is just the 4a that I have. And what that will be is it's going to be then b squared minus, all right? And this is going to be 4ac. Okay, so now I have a common denominator between them. Okay, so this is going to be divided by 4a. All right, so that's common denominator. And you can see this is kind of slowly coming into place, right? We see this b squared minus 4ac, which is really, you know, we saw that right there in the formula. Okay, so I'm up to this point. Now, because I have all of this junk here, so I'm solving for x ultimately. So I'm going to duplicate this, bring this down right here. So I'm going to divide both sides by a. So I'm going to divide both sides by a to get rid of that. So that means on the left-hand side, all I'm going to have left is x plus b over 2a. This is going to be squared equals. Now, because I divided by a, then my right-hand side is going to be b squared minus 4ac divided by, now it's going to be 4a, and it's going to be a squared, because I divided it by that. Now, taking the square root of both sides, because I don't want to have that square there, then what you will have is, I'm going to take this, okay, and I'm going to take the square root of that. Now, the square root of this entire thing, so of this, and if I put that there, if I take the square root, so notice this is going to be square root of this and square root of that, the top will remain the same, but this right here, so well, the square root of 4a squared is just 2a, right? And let's not forget, because we're taking square root, it's going to be plus minus. So this is what we have. B squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. All right? And then on the left-hand side, I have now this. And we basically are pretty much there. Because now I'm going to move this over to the opposite side to solve for x. So x equals negative b over 2a plus minus, okay, so all of this right here, and you have your formula. All right, they are under the same denominator, so that means I have negative b plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. And there you have it. That's how you derive the quadratic formula. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hope that this was useful. Bye, everybody.